Hey guys, it's Angela and welcome back to my channel. And if you're new here, I like posting videos about beauty and lifestyle content. So for today's video, I thought I would take this opportunity to sit down and film my daughter's birth story and share the little bit of footage that we have leading into her birth. So I want to give a disclaimer that if talking about bodily fluids or if you're dealing with any sort of trauma as far as giving birth and postpartum depression, this may not be the video for you. Or it may be. Maybe this is, a way of you knowing that you're not alone, that everybody, has their own story. And so also, keep the comments nice in the comment section, whether you're here to support me or just find out more information about what it's like to give birth in Korea, which I'm going to actually dive more into my whole experience being pregnant in Korea in a later video. So, but basically, warning, I'm not going to get super graphic or anything like that, but I will be describing certain things, so keep that in mind. Now's your chance to click out. And with that being said, let's jump into it. So it all started on September 27th. That's actually mine and my husband's wedding anniversary, and this year was our 7th wedding anniversary. So we had just come back from Tongyeongdong, I think I'm pronouncing that right, Korea, and we just went for a short weekend. I think we stayed 3 nights just to unwind, celebrate, the upcoming month of good. We knew that we would be giving birth soon, and also, to celebrate each other and our anniversary. My previous appointment had gone good. My blood pressure was a little elevated, but not too concerning, and there was a really low dosage of protein in my urine. So that was before the 27th. So on the 27th, this was the one and only appointment that Nate missed, and that was literally because with it being our actual anniversary day, he was hoping that my appointment was in the morning. He wanted to get off a little early in the evening so he could take me to dinner, because we figured it'd be probably our last time, just the two of us, to be able to go out to dinner and before having our daughter. So we both agreed that I'll go to this appointment by myself, because so far everything's been good, and I wasn't worried or anything. They were literally going to do some vitals, an ultrasound, make sure everything was still good to go, let me know on my progress, stuff like that. And the one appointment he missed was the one that I probably needed him the most. I go in and I get blood work, urine, and stress test done. Stress test was fine. Baby was good. She was living her best life all up in there. However, there was a pretty drastic spike in my protein, and they showed me on a chart where it was before, and it was the color chart of from worst to best scenario, and before I was a couple levels elevated, and now I was deeply elevated. So spike in protein in my urine, and also my blood pressure was really high. I had previously been diagnosed with gestational diabetes. However, my blood sugar level, leading up to, I really worked hard to maintain it the best that I could. And so like at this appointment, my blood sugar was fine. They do the ultrasound and she's great, as you know, and not just in the stress test, but in the ultrasound. And so they sit me down in the office and they ask how I'm doing, and I could tell like there was a shift in the mood, and I'm like, you know, I'm doing everything I can to be prepared. I just recently packed my hospital bag, and they're like, that's good. We need you to go home and be prepared because we're going to have you come back tomorrow and you're going to be induced. Immediately, I felt this rush of like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, this is happening. This is not what I want to happen. Are you sure? Like, I kept asking my doctor, like, can I just go home and like rest? And they're like, no, like the protein is really, like, it's entering a dangerous standpoint. And for those who don't know, when you have an elevated blood pressure and protein in your urine, those are basically the diagnosis of preeclampsia. So I was being diagnosed at about 39 weeks with preeclampsia. And, you know, if it becomes eclampsia afterwards or even during, like, that puts my health and the baby's health in jeopardy. Elevated blood pressure puts the baby's life in jeopardy. So in order to give me the best chance of laboring and delivering as much as possible, they wanted to start the induction. So obviously I immediately call Nate, crying. I call my dad, sobbing as well, and I call my friend Abby as well. My dad I called because he was actually supposed to be flying in on the 30th, which he did, and thank God all of that ended up working out. But we were supposed to go get him from the airport, and the airport's 4 hours away, so now I'm freaking out. How do I get him when I'm going to be in the hospital? And, you know, I'm trying to coordinate with different people to find out if anybody could go pick my dad up for me, and if not, then, like, how does he get from, you know, Seoul down to Daegu and all of that nonsense. Obviously I called my husband because, like, guess what? She's gonna be here by the end of the week, sort of thing. And then there's like his side of things that he needed to handle because he's in the military. He had to like submit paperwork and tell everyone and tell his boss, and he works in, you know, he works in an office setting, and you know, they kind of rely on him for a lot of things. So he was like thinking he had a couple days to, you know, kind of finish wrapping up things that he needed to wrap up, and no, he has like literally hours. Plus he was going to originally try to get off early, and that was out the window. Like, he had to stay until the end of day to get as much work done. So, you know, I get off the phone with everybody, I get home, I eat lunch, and I start doing anything that I needed to do. You know, your mind starts racing, you start gathering all your stuff up. I wanted to gather all our supplies and get as much down into the car as possible, so like I didn't forget anything. So I ended up doing exactly that. Plugged in all my electronics, got them charging, getting everything good to go. The next day, we went in for our first appointment. I had to go in around noon to once again get vitals, blood pressure, all of that type of stuff done. All of it was pretty much the same as the day before. So they said come back at 7 p.m. and that's when we're actually gonna submit you into the hospital. So first check-in. We got here at 7 p.m. like they told us to. So the reason
where here, I actually didn't, like, my water hasn't broke or anything like that. We're a week out from her due date, but basically I have high blood pressure and protein in my urine, which are signs of preeclampsia. Now, currently at this moment, there's no stress on the baby or anything like that. So with me only being a week away from my due date, they figured it was safe to start an induction, so there is no stress on the baby. So we got here at 7 p.m. They checked my blood pressure and other vitals and stuff like that. And my blood pressure was still high, so they told us that they're going to continue to check it from 7 until midnight several times, which they did, and see if it levels out or drops. Luckily it did drop, and so then they are starting to do the induction process. First is softening the cervix. If you guys have no idea what that means, basically I'm nowhere near ready, so things are all closed up. So we have to soften it, and then we'll start Pitocin to start contractions and stuff like that. This is not exactly how we wanted things to go. Obviously, I would have preferred as natural as possible, but like I said earlier, and I've said since day one, a happy, healthy delivery is like what's important to me. And if this is going to be the best route for no stress on the baby, then that's what we're going to do. So it's currently midnight and, well, 12:20. They just did the softening of the cervix. Medicine will be checked in a little bit again, see how things are progressing, and we'll just keep you guys updated the best we can. Yep.
So we have Pitocin now.
Yeah.
So you started having contractions.
Yeah, I started having contractions. I was still getting the Cervidil, which is a cervix softener. And I kind of was just timing my contractions. And then Nate went and got the nurse and was like, we're pretty sure she's having contractions. They checked my timing and they're like, okay, let's do a vaginal exam. And sure enough, I'm having contractions. And I dilated to a centimeter. Woo, big accomplishment. Dilated to a centimeter without the Pitocin. But they still want to do the Pitocin, and I definitely am getting the epidural. Like, my hips hurt from laying in the hard bed, and I just think that with the epidural I'll feel more relaxed. It'll help keep my blood pressure down. So yeah, what time is it right now? Let me check. It is 8:20 a.m. right now. So I'm pleased that my body was like, oh, we're doing this? Let's do this then. So, yeah, we'll see how it progresses from here.
This went on for about 2 hours. The doctor came in to check me after lunch again, just to see how my body was reacting to the Pitocin. But she didn't actually check me because she said that the less intrusive she can be and just let my body do it, the better. They can tell by the checking on the baby stress test, and I'm hooked up to tons of different things. I'm having contractions, so they're gonna just let me be for a while. She did check me one more time right before she left at the end of the day, so around 5 o'clock, and I was still 1 centimeter dilated and 60% effaced. So from 9 a.m. to now 5 p.m. I had made no progress. And my contractions had kind of simmered down a little bit. They weren't as crazy and intensive. Definitely manageable. At this point, I even had gotten on a conference call to discuss, my husband's unit was hosting trunk or treat, so I was on a conference call with them at one point. And if I had a contraction, I would just mute myself and go through the contractions while listening to what needed to be done and whatnot. And then I would unmute myself for the conversation part of what I needed to say. I know, I'm crazy. I get it. At around 5:40, so after she had, my normal doctor had seen me, I woke up from a nap and felt a little weird down there. So I go to move and I have this like sudden urge to pee. And no sooner I swing my legs out of the bed, I just feel water like, and it wasn't like a giant gush, like a water balloon breaking. It was definitely like someone turned on the faucet about halfway. I yell for Nate, not yell, but babe, wake up, because he had also fallen asleep for a nap. And I'm like, I think my water just broke. And he goes, what? And I'm like, yeah. I waddle my drippy body to the bathroom and I pee, still feeling drips coming out of me, and I go to wipe and I noticed some like thicker mucusy blood. So I'm like, okay, I think this is my mucus plug. I ended up, he went and got the nurses and told the nurse like, hey, I think my wife's water just broke and she thinks she lost her mucus plug. They confirmed that, sure enough, both of those just happened. So because my body had, progressed kind of on its own with my water breaking, because Pitocin shouldn't have made my water break yet, they're like, hey, maybe this is like a jump start to you being able to be off the Pitocin. So they took me off the Pitocin, and it was kind of a low dosage anyways, and they're like, let's see how you do contraction wise. They wanted me to try to do as much as possible naturally and go from there. So from like 9 p.m. to about 8 a.m. I labored naturally, not on any medication, no painkillers, nothing. Went from sleeping, very poor sleeping that is, to walking around. I was able to eat something small for dinner, kind of get some of my energy back, because at this point I'm like, okay, it's been 24 hours since I ate anything. I'm getting a little shaky. Now that my water is broke and I'm missing my mucus plug, they decided to check me again, and I was 3 centimeters dilated. I said, this is awesome. I asked what the next steps were for me, and they said, well, now that you've hit 3 centimeters, you can get an epidural, but we advise that you try to not have it yet, because you walking around and stuff like that is very beneficial. And I said, okay, that's fine, but let's go ahead and get the catheter put in, because I knew I had to have that done either way. So they went ahead and put the catheter in to then later administer the epidural, because then the nurses can give me the epidural without the doctor being there. And I originally didn't want to get an epidural until it's like now or never sort of thing. I told them we can definitely put the catheter in to administer the epidural, but I don't know if I actually want the epidural until I need it, sort of thing. But because I was being induced, and now I'm on a second round of Pitocin and the dosage is higher, I was exhausted and I was in pain. And at this point, I was close to 48 hours of being induced with no pain management other than, different positions and walking around and trying to rest and stuff like that. What sucks that no one really tells you about with the epidural, you're still having contractions. And that was probably of the three, if I had to pick three of the most painful moments, that was one of them. Because I have this giant belly, and they have to, I have to lay on my side, bring my knees as close as I can to my chest, but of course I have a giant baby bump in the way. You have people helping you hold because they have to bend your back so much. And I'm having contractions, and all I want to do with contractions is grip onto something and try to breathe through it. And they obviously paused for the contraction, but I'm in this uncomfortable position, and it doesn't make sense to get me out of this uncomfortable position for one contraction when it just took me so long to get into this position. I will say I had this labor and delivery gown. 10 out of 10 recommend. 100%. I'll link it down below. I will, if in the coming weeks, do a what was in my hospital bag, what I used. That is the number one thing. I was comfortable in it. It wasn't too hot. The gowns at the hospital were kind of heavy, and I didn't really like that. But this was also great because it crisscrosses the fabric in the front, so it's easy to open and see how things are going down there, but also had snaps up here for you can bring it down to breastfeed or pump, and then also had snaps going down the back, perfect for administering the epidural and other things, as I'll tell you here in a little bit. At 9 p.m. I was still 3 centimeters dilated, 60% effaced, and they decided to take me off the Pitocin so I could eat again and try to rest. That's also when I got my first dosage of an epidural, was during the night, because the way it is here in Korea, they give you a smaller amount so it wears off, so then that way you can do things if you need to. So now it is Friday, October 1st. I've been here since the 28th. I have been on Cervidil, Pitocin. I've had a couple dosages of a epidural. I am still 3 centimeters dilated and 60% effaced. They put me back on the Pitocin in the morning. They tell me to try my hardest not to have the epidural, to get up and walk around and try to get through the contractions and just let my body labor. I had a couple doses of the epidural here or there. Definitely not as much as most people probably would have, because they actually upped my dosage of the Pitocin as well. And the contractions were definitely 8 and a 9 the whole day. My doctor periodically came and checked on me. She told me that today's the day. One way or another, we were going to be bringing, this baby girl into the world. And as much as I was excited that I was going to be able to meet her, hearing that it was going to happen one way or another scared the shit out of me, because that meant I was either going to deliver naturally, or I was going to have to deliver C-section. And not that there's anything wrong with one or the other, but I just knew recovery time, C-section's harder, longer, that is. And I had never had any type of surgery. The only thing I've ever had done ever was getting my wisdom teeth pulled. And even then, it was a local anesthetic. And C-sections can go a couple different ways. I really, really pushed myself that day to hopefully deliver vaginally, because that is what I wanted.
All right, everyone. We're here with another update. It's not the best update, but it could be much worse. So the good news is that Angela's not happy. Angela's healthy, and the baby is still very healthy. The bad news is it is now October 1st. It's Friday. We started the induction process on Tuesday evening, and it has taken her this long to get to about 3.5 centimeters with the Cervidil and a lot of Pitocin. But it's just the cervix is not cooperating.
Baby girl is not ready.
Yeah, the water did break, so now we're almost to the 48-hour mark after the water breaking. So to prevent any sort of issues with that, if the birth doesn't kind of miraculously progress very quickly this afternoon, you can see in the background it's 2:37 right now, then we are going to be looking at a C-section, unfortunately. But again, neither of us wanted a C-section, especially Angela, but a healthy wife and a healthy baby were the ultimate goal.
The ironic part was I wanted an October baby, and her due date was in October, so it's oh, great. And then they started the induction on the 28th, and I came to terms with the end of September, except I've been here for 4 freaking days now, and it's October 1st. So in a weird twist of events, I'm still getting my October baby. Nate wanted a Halloween baby, but she was not staying in until Halloween, I can tell you that much. But, yeah, at the end of the day, we're excited to meet her. We're excited for everybody else to meet her. I wish it was under better circumstances, but I have tried to go with the flow the whole time during the pregnancy, and it's just another thing.
Say it again.
What time is it now?
It is now 2:46.
So it's been 5 fucking minutes, maybe?
5 to 7 minutes since we literally stopped the last video. I literally stopped the last video because the nurse and the doctor knocked on the door and came in the room.
Guys, I'm 5 centimeters dilated. Holy fuck, I'm so freaking excited.
which is a 2 centimeter progression in the last 2 hours after being 3 centimeters for like 2 days. 2 days.
Yeah. Oh my God, I'm so excited. They think that I might be over the barrier process of this, and they're hoping to see a more steady progression from this point on. That little bit of news has just like
Endorphins.
yes, it's like, okay, let's go. All right, we're at the triathlon, and this is the last leg. Let's do this. Like, oh God.
So the explanation from the doctor is that typically it's very hard to predict those first few centimeters and the beginning of the induction process. Everyone takes very differently to it. It can be very quick, it can be very slow. I think we're in the upper echelon of how slow it can go, but typically once you reach the 5 centimeter mark, it's much more predictable that you see quicker progression. And what that means for us is, so it's 3 p.m. now, bright light. It's 3 p.m. now. Doctor said by 5 p.m., 2 hours from now, she expects to see her at about 7 centimeters. Maybe a little more, a little less, but expects probably about 1 centimeter per hour now. So unless the actual birthing process takes too long, it'll probably be the October 1st, Friday, baby. So yeah, we'll give you an update next time.
Around 6 p.m., I had just done a couple laps in the hallway, and I was having a really bad contraction. And I was actually like leaning on the bed with my head down, but I was sitting on a stool, and Nate was behind me rubbing my back, breathing through the contraction. And my doctor comes in, and she comes over and she holds my other hand, you know, helping me breathe through this contraction. And I get through it. She looks me, you know, dead in the face and was like, "How are you feeling?" And I'm like, "I'm going to throw up." And she goes, "What?" I'm like, "I'm going to vomit." And you just see the nurses start to scramble, and Nate grabs this bag that had our dinner from the night before in it, and I literally threw up right there. I think it was just from exhaustion and pain, because no sooner I threw up, I had another severe contraction. And she's like, "This is good. This means like your body's doing what it needs to do." And this, she's like, "I know the pain is intense." She's like, "I don't think you should take an epidural now." And so she's like, "But if you want, I can check you." And we're thinking, okay, this is it. We have made progress. Like, I have been in excruciating pain for a few hours now, and it has gotten drastically worse. In my mind, I'm thinking, I'm gonna get up on this bed, and I'm going to be 8, 9, possibly even 10 centimeters, and they're gonna be like, "We're gonna start pushing soon," right? That's what I'm like, this pain is so bad, like I have to be ready, right? I'm still 5 centimeters dilated. And like, even thinking about it now, like my heart sunk. You know, we're approaching that deadline, and I don't know how, even if I get to 10 centimeters, I have no energy. I have like no strength left. I'm exhausted. How the fuck am I about to push? I start crying, and I tell her, I'm like, I think I have learned what the limit of pain my body can endure, and I think I've hit that limit. I said, I can't do this anymore. And she said, what do you want to do? And I'm glad she gave me that power. You know, she always guided me through my medical decisions, but she never like enforced me to do anything truly. Like, she's like, this is what we need to do. At the end of the day, it was my choice. And I told her, is that my option is a C-section at this point, because like we have no time. And she's like, it's what I advise at this point. You know, at the end of the day, I want a healthy child. I want a healthy baby. And there's still at this point like no indication of stress on her. So look who's joined us just in time to talk about her, actually. So at 6:15, Nate was whisked away to go start all the paperwork for the delivery, and I was then put onto a different bed that would then be wheeled out of my labor room, because I'm now going from a labor and delivery room into an operating room. A stronger epidural was given to me, so now I'm down. I'm not moving. Holy crap, I understood what they meant by the cold shivers with the epidural, because at this point, like, the dosage was low to where like it would be like a little chill when it went in, but after that it was fine. No, I laid on this bed that was more of a table for 30 minutes, freezing, like shaking. So one of the things that was nice about my gown is because of the buttons down the back, they were easy. It was very easy for them two nurses to pull on either side, and it would unsnap because they were snaps. And that's how I kind of was for a few minutes. You know, they were able to unsnap me, and it was just kind of like laying on me, and then they brought different blankets in, and so I just laid there until they were ready to take me into the OR room. So I'm sitting there on the table. I'm sitting there on the bed, shivering, and Nate is being prepped to go into the OR room. He comes and is able to check on me for a moment, and then, you know, I'm of course a nervous freaking wreck, crying, every emotion that I probably could feel. You know, I was both stressed out but also excited. I was completely out of it, for sure. They wheeled me into the O room at 6:45. So, you know, about 30 minutes later. And they lift me onto the operating bed table. The sensation of like not having any control over your body is a weird one, but I could still feel things. So they're kind of like pushing around, trying to feel trying to gauge how much feeling I have. And I tell them, like, I don't feel any pain at this moment. I just feel pressure. And so sometimes they're pushing on things and they're like, can you feel that? And it's a no. And sometimes it's like, oh, I can feel that you're touching me there, but that's about it. And they're like, okay. So they start to cut me open, and I'm panicking because I know that they're doing stuff. And my morbid ass husband is watching them. And I mean, he's sitting right next to me holding my hand, but he's peeking over the curtain, and I say, babe, I really need you to look at me. So he obviously stops and he's looking at me, and he's, you know, telling me like it's just a few more minutes before we'll get to meet our baby girl, and he's so proud of me, giving me lots of words of encouragement. And all of a sudden I start going, I feel that. I fucking feel that. Fuck, 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 fuck. I don't know what I felt, but it felt like there was a cord in me attached to my upper chest, and they were ripping it out. They hadn't even gotten to her yet, so it wasn't the sensation of her coming out, and it hurt really bad, on the same level of the very last contraction I had, that level of pain. And the fact that I felt that level of pain on all the local anesthesia and epidural that I was on scared Nate, scared me, and apparently also scared the international nurse, which I later found out. They paused for a few seconds and pushed more drugs into my IV. And no sooner the needle, like, they were done syringing, they didn't even wait for it to like go through my whole IV, and they were operating again. And like, I understand, I'm cut open, I'm bleeding, they gotta get her out, but I wish they would have waited just 30 seconds longer, because yeah, I was feeling all that pain. At 7 p.m. on the dot, she was born.
We have a baby.
You have a baby.
We have a baby. What does she look like?
She's a little purple right now, but she's healthy.
Ow! No. Oh.
So after seeing her, maybe doctor can make you a little sleep. Okay?
Okay.
So let's see what's good.
I was bleeding and I was feeling things. So they tell me, like, they give her to Nate, and, you know, I am able to just see her so they bring her over and give her to Nate. She's crying, so, you know, she looks good. At the moment, no complications there. And I did not get that skin to skin that I wanted. That, you know, still to this day upsets me. And it's something that, like, it's something that I'll probably never truly get over. I had to mourn the different things I missed out on because I had an unexpected C-section. And I wish I could do it. I wish I could do truly, like, I would go through all that pain again if I could somehow have a couple of the things that I didn't have before. And one of those is being that immediate skin to skin, because I think it would have helped me so much more. At this point, they tell me that they're gonna have to put me under and to stitch me up. I already knew that she was going to go down to the nursery for about 2 hours, make sure everything is good with her, and stuff like that. They take her out into the hallway. Nate goes with her for a moment, and then they take him to go to my recovery room to wait for me. He says I was gone for about 30 minutes. I come, and next thing he knows, I'm waking up next thing he knows, I'm waking up as I'm being wheeled into the recovery room. So Nate is getting yelled at by this Korean nurse now, a little bit older, and she is on the bed, like hitting her foot on the bed. Nate originally thought he was like in the way, so he like moved, and basically no, like they had him get up on the bed with her, and they were taking one side of the sheet that's underneath me, and then there was other people on the opposite side, not in the bed, in order to like lift me up and put me in the bed. That was horrible. And then I had to lay there and not have any food or any water for 24 hours. I still to this day don't quite understand how my mind was sound enough after all of that to go, oh my God, I can't sit up. I have no clue how to breastfeed in general, but like I also don't know how to do it after a C-section. What the fuck am I gonna do? Because I really wanted to try to avoid formula feeding, and at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong if your baby's on formula. I'm not here to discourage that. It's just not what I intended to do. And if there was one thing I could try to prevent, because I couldn't prevent any of the shit that just happened, I wanted to prevent giving her formula if I could. And thank God my friend who had delivered a baby in June unfortunately had to move back home, so she left, but she had frozen milk and a ton of it that it was too much to take with her. So she asked if I wanted it, and she donated it to me, and this was weeks prior to me going into the hospital. You know who you are, and like truly, like I know I've thanked you before, but still to this day, like you have no idea how much that meant to me, because it allowed me to have that little bit of control over this situation. And she still to this day has only been breast milk fed. So thank you for that. But she hit in half the mind that I had, tell Nate he has to go home and not only get the breast milk, but a few other supplies, because now they're telling me I'm going to be in here instead of like a day or two, I'm going to be in here for like 5 days. And I was like, oh God. But I'm like trying to bust out early. So he goes home, he checks on my dad, like tells my dad that baby girl's here. Oh, by the way, yeah, my dad had, successfully made it down to Daegu, and all of that was being taken care of. And he, I call my dad, I talk to my dad. Apparently I called several of my friends. I don't even know how I had the mind to even do so, but I did. And Nate gets back with the things I asked him for, and he's able to give the frozen breast milk to the nursery to then give her. So we're able to go to the nursery and get bottles made. They warm it up, they give you extra diapers and all that stuff to take into your room. He's able to get all of that done before they even wheel her in. So she is then wheeled into the room, and what really sucks is it's like 10 p.m. now, and all of your normal supporting staff are pretty much gone for the day. So you just have your overnight nurses and your overnight doctor, but you don't have a lactation consultant. And I had no idea, like, what do I do in this position, because I'm only supposed to lay completely flat on my back. We did skin to skin immediately when she came into the room, because I was already like, oh my God, it's been 3 hours, since she was born, and then was in the nursery and then came here. So Nate unwraps her and we do skin to skin, and me and her pretty much just lay flat together for like, I don't know, 2 hours, maybe longer. So now starts probably the hardest time for Nate in the hospital, because you go into a delivery thinking 2 adults are going to take care of 1 baby, and now it's him taking care of me and her, and he's exhausted. He's been up with me, whenever I'm laboring, and he's gotten very little rest. He's didn't leave to go get food as often. He did a couple times because they don't start feeding the dads here until you actually deliver. Then they bring meals to the dad. So he was allowed to leave the hospital, but it was to go get food and stuff. To watch Nate immediately jump into fatherhood, and watching him change her diapers and feed her and swaddle her and love on her and bring her to me so I can try to do as much as I can, and I'm coaching from the sidelines, but he's doing it all. I don't think I've ever been so grateful and so in love with him as much as I was in that moment, because it was pure selflessness in that moment. And I know it was rough on him. I watched the energy from him drain as I'm trying to gain mine back, and I wouldn't have been able to do it without him. And I don't know how anybody does it without their partner. These single moms out there, I commend you, because I could never in that moment. So I just want to say thank you, babe, truly from the bottom of my heart. And I know you've told me I don't have to thank you, that this is what you signed up for when you got with me, and when you said you wanted to be a father with me and everything. But It truly has been amazing watching you step into a fatherhood role, and I love it, and I appreciate every ounce of it. So from this point forward is just recovery now. You know, I can go more in depth if you guys want about my recovery. Sorry. Someone can't decide if she's going to be awake or asleep for this. I can definitely do a more in-depth video about recovering from a C-section, tips and tricks I learned and whatnot, but I think this video's getting long enough, and like I said, someone can't decide if she wants to be awake or asleep, so we're gonna sign off here. Let me know if you guys want to see that, because I definitely think it would benefit me. Past me should have definitely looked up some information about C-sections. I didn't, like, never in my mind did I think that was going to be my story, but it is. And you know, I would love to provide that information if that's something you guys are interested in. But overall, look at this beautiful girl. She is 3 months and 3 weeks right now. Sorry it's taken me this long to talk about it, but like I said earlier in the video, I had to recover a little bit mentally from it. And you know, my body carried her for 39 weeks and almost 40, depending on the app or the doctor. So the app said she was due date was October 3rd, but my doctor measured her at more of being due October 7th. She came on October 1st. So like carrying her for 39 weeks, I had wrote everything down. I labored I was in the hospital before she was born for 72 hours. I labored for 67 hours, and that was with the induction. And of course it all ended in a C-section. I spent a total of 10 days in the hospital. They kept me for a week for recovery. That's one thing I wish I would have advocated a little bit more, is like to go home, because the difference in recovery in the hospital versus one night at home in my own bed was astonishing. Just like how much more I was able to move the next day after sleeping in my own bed. But like I said, I can go into a whole tangent about after a C-section care and your body and clothes and what you would be comfortable wearing, what I was comfortable wearing, and all of that in a future video. If you like this video, if you like what I've been posting, if you like baby girls that are adorable, Miss Annalee over here, make sure you subscribe to my channel and hit that bell notification so you get notified every single time that I upload. It is free to do so, and it helps to make my channel grow. And we will see you guys in the next video. Mwah. Bye. Yeah, I can't decide if I'm awake. I can't decide if I'm awake. I've had a bottle. I've slept twice. And now I'm awake. And now I got the smiles. The smiles. Oh, and the drool. Look at the drool bubbles. Look at the drool bubbles. Mwah. Mwah, 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 mwah. Mwah.